G'day guys, welcome to my RXY's YouTube video. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about NRL Round 9 predictions for 2020 guys, so let's get started. So starting off with this first match of that game, we see the Cowboys going up against the Roosters. Now this game's going to be a real tight-up match. Cowboys are really struggling without Michael Morgan, I believe, number 7 or number 6. But you got Jake Clifford and this other guy named Scott Drinkwater. He's an absolute great player, but he does struggle a little bit with running with the ball, how the way he wants to tackle, and also he's scoring tries, which I do believe that he is a great player, that he just cannot believe that he just gets the ball and just runs with it and then dives with it, and that's what I mean by his tackling abilities. But what I can say about the Roosters, they are a professional team that does not take anything for granted. But for the Cowboys though, if they go up against them, they need to have that strong ability that has to get over the line. And for the Roosters though, they obviously got James Tedesco, they've gotten Ryan Hall, they've got basically Josh Morris and Brett Morris. Josh Morris and Brett Morris are an absolute great combination. They are great players that obviously are twins. But then I just can't believe that the Roosters are just going to get over the line here, and I reckon that the Cowboys won't, obviously will, and I just think they will try, but I don't think they'll get over the line with the Roosters getting over with this scoring of the abilities. But what I can say about this game, I'm going to go with the Roosters though by 14 points, and I reckon that this game will be a tied-up match. But for the Cowboys though, they will struggle a little bit because they've lost quite a number of players, and I just don't think that this game will turn out to be a real good game for them, and I just think they will struggle a little bit. But Hamiso Tipawai-Fidow is on the fullback side with Valentine Holmes and number 5 swapping for that side of that team. But I just think the Cowboys will struggle a little bit, but I reckon the Roosters will bounce back, and I reckon that this game will be a good match for them, and I reckon they will get this win by 14 points anyway. The next game of that round, we see the Titans going up against the Warriors. Now, this game's going to be a really low-scoring match. I think these two sides are really struggling a little bit. Plus, the Titans are really going up against like good teams, but I just don't think that this game will be a really great game for the Titans. I just don't think that they will win it up against like the Warriors. The Warriors have been going very good, but not good enough to conceal the deal for any other teams to beat. But for the Warriors though, they have missed Cody Nikorima. Cody Nikorima is out with Chanel Harris-Tavita in for number 6, replacing Cody Nikorima. Now, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is back from, I think, injury or something like that, which I'm not too sure. But I know for a fact he will be in for number 1. I think Peter Hiku was probably in the fullback squad, but I'm not too sure. But I do think that the Titans are a really good team. They've gotten Corey Thompson from the West Tigers. They've gotten like a couple of other players too. They might have David Fifita soon. I heard a lot of things about that, but I'm not too sure about that. So I do think that this game will be a really good tied-up match, but low-up scores can be really interesting, but I don't think that the Warriors can be a really good team sometimes. They do struggle a little bit, but it's how the way you want to play your football right. It's how the way you want to focus, put up your skills, and go up for attention anyway. But this game, I reckon it's going to be an entertaining match. I'm going to go with the Warriors on this one, and I'm going to go with them by 8 points. My New Zealand Warriors will definitely win this game up against the Titans, and I reckon that this game will be an awesome match, but it'll be a low-scoring match, and I do think that the Warriors will bounce back a little bit, and I reckon that this game will be a tied-up game, but the Warriors, for me, I reckon they'll get the job done up against the Titans, and I reckon Titans will fall back a little bit, and they will struggle up against the Warriors, so I'm just going to go with the Warriors by 8 points anyway. The next game of that round, we see the Rabbitohs going up against the West Tigers. Now, This game's going to be a really tight up match. West Tigers are a really good team, but they do lost Joseph Leilua from that clothesline headline tackle, which I do believe that is a dog shot. And he has different times where he, like, I don't believe that he was going to do it. But then when Viliami Kikau came into it, and then obviously tried to, like, legit, like, strangle him or something like that, I just think Joseph Leilua needs to settle, and just bring his terms back when he wants to play his football right. But anyway, let's forget about that. We're talking about this one anyway. We're talking about the West Tigers up against the Rabbitohs. The West Tigers are a really good team, but sometimes they do struggle a little bit. But with a lot of players coming into that squad due to, like, injuries or something like that, I reckon they do struggle a little bit due to, like, hamstrings or how the way it is. But the West Tigers, they just got things up their sleeves sometimes. They really do. And I just don't think that this game will be a really good match for them. And I don't think that this game will be a very tight match for them. But for the Rabbitohs, though, they're a really good team. They put pressure on other people. Like, they put pressure on the other teams. Last time they beat the Bulldogs, it was absolutely a flogging that was just so bloody determined. But I'm going to go with the Rabbitohs, though, by 12 points, and I reckon that this game will be a really good game. I reckon that Dan Gagai will have a really good game, so will Latrell Mitchell, and I just think that this game will be a very good match for them, and I reckon that this game will be a really tight match for these two teams that are playing each other in that match anyway. The next game of that match, we see the Sharks going up against the Panthers. Now, this game's going to be a really easy match. I just think Panthers are a really good team. They have Nathan Cleary, which he is a really good player. I do think he gets the job done sometimes, but it's how the way different teams go up against each other. I just don't think that this game will be a very high-scoring match. I do think it will be, but it's how the way they put pressure on against different teams, and it's going to be really difficult. But, like, for the Sharks, though, they've gotten Sione Katoa. They've gotten Chad Townsend, plus Sean Johnson. Sean Johnson's a really good player. I do like him. He's an alright kind of guy. He's an alright player, but I do think sometimes he may have different types of terms where he doesn't play right, he doesn't play good, or he does play right, does play good. But I do believe that the Sharks are a really good team. But Sione Katoa is a weapon. I do like him. He scored like 6 or 5 tries in 2 matches, I believe. And I reckon that this game will be a really easy match. And to be honest, though, Sharks are a really good team that put pressure on the Panthers. But I just think the Panthers will put pressure on the Sharks. And I reckon that this game will be a very easy match. But they've lost Matt Moylan for the Sharks due to injury, like hamstring injury. And that is a big loss. But they do have Josh Dugan, which he is a really good player. But it's different types of terms. But Brett Naden, he's a really good player too sometimes. I'm going to say Brian Toho, he's a good player. And I do like him. Also too, I reckon that Josh Mansour is a really good player too. But I just don't think he does right things by the margin. But I'm going to go with the Panthers though by 10 points. I reckon they will get the job done up against the Sharks. And I reckon that this game will be an easy match for this match anyway. The next game of that match, we see the Broncos going up against the Bulldogs. Now, this game's going to be a real tied-up match and a real physical match because the Broncos have lost 6 games in a row. And I do feel sorry for them, but I do feel sorry for the Bulldogs too because they have lost 6 games in a row also too. But one of them needs to win. And I'm not saying that the Bulldogs aren't a terrible team. They are a great team. But still, they need to have some physical ability and attributes for that match. And how the way you want to play your footy, it's how the way you want to play too. But every time I see the Bulldogs play, it's like I'm watching the Titans play. And every time, say for instance, I'm like, oh yeah, it's the Titans versus the Bulldogs. I might go for the Bulldogs. So, I reckon that this game will be a real tighter match. I'm going to go with the Broncos though by 8 points. And I just think that this game will be a very, very close match. But I do see Bulldogs might get a win in this game. I just think that the Goosebumps in me will see the Bulldogs obviously getting a win. But I reckon from my mind, from the heart, I reckon the Broncos will obviously get this win. But Darius Boyd needs to retire, and he obviously has that, has terrible things about him. He has a lot of things about him. Because when he played in his debut, he was alright. But when he got older and older and older, he turned out to be shit. And he is. So I'm just going to say, the Broncos need to win the game, or the Bulldogs need to win the game anyway. So I'm going to go with them. I'm going to go with the Broncos though by 8 points anyway. The next game of this round, we see the Raiders going up against the Storm. Now, this game is going to be a real hard match. These two sides are really equal sides of this team. And the Storm and the Raiders are a really good team for these two sides. And these two sides are just equally to be one of the best teams in the comp. But last time they obviously versed the Storm, Josh Papali scored the winning try and it made it to an equal scoreline, which that means the Raiders obviously won that game and they took home with the win. But I just have to say, these two sides are really hard to beat. And last time they've beaten these two sides, last time they've beaten the Raiders are really, really hard to basically beat. But sometimes they're losing. Sometimes they struggle a little bit. But it's going to be really difficult for this game to say, oh, is the Storm going to win? Or is the Raiders going to win? But I'm going to go with the Storm by 6 points. I reckon that this game will be a close margin. But I reckon the only try will seal the deal. But I reckon Josh Adokar will basically score a try to basically win this match. For this match, I reckon that this game will be proven that the Storm are a better team up against the Raiders. And last time the Raiders obviously won against the Storm anyway. Josh Papali obviously scored a try to seal the deal. And that game was really high intensifying game. But it was definitely brutal because it was a hard match to say that the Raiders took home with the win. But I'm going to go with the Melbourne Storm by 6 points. And I reckon that this game will be a really good match anyway. And to prove that the Melbourne Storm are a really good team by 6 points, that's what I'm going to go for anyway. The next game of this match, we see the Knights going up against the Eels. Now, this game is going to be a real tight match. And last time I was there, I was vlogging that game for the Knights and Eels up at, what's it called? McDonald Jones Stadium, actually. And it was pretty big, and it was really cool to see this type of community out there, and lots of people that obviously like the Newcastle Knights. But last time we played up against the Knights, we got flogged, and this game was really high intensifying game, and the Knights just blew across the park, and the Knights, the Eels were just terrible across the park. But I didn't think that we were going to win that game anyway, only because that Kalen Ponga is a really good player. So is Tex Hoy. Tex Hoy is going to be in the number 2 jersey for that side. So will be Kurt Mann and Mitchell Pearce. Mitchell Pearce is a really great player. So is Andrew McCulloch. He's a wonderful player too. But I just have to say, for the Parramatta Eels, my Parramatta Eels, sitting on the first place on the ladder, I reckon that this game will be a real turnout point, and I just think they will get this win by any chance by 10 points. I reckon that this game will be certainly a tight catcher, but it turns out to be a really great match to say, oh, if the Knights are going to win, or if the Eels are going to win. But I reckon the Eels are going to win because they are really a great team, and I wasn't expecting them just to get a win each time they obviously play up against another team. But I'm going to go with the Parramatta Eels by 10 points. This game is going to be a really hard game, and I do think that the Newcastle Knights are going to have a lot to answer for, but going up against the Eels, I reckon this game will be an absolute cracker of a match, but I'm going to go with the Parramatta Eels by 10 points anyway. And finally, the next game of this round, we see the Dragons going up against the Manly Seagulls, and I think this game will be a really tight-up match. Without Tom Trbojevic, it will be a really struggling team for this match. But they do have Moses Sully back. They do have Ruben Garrick. They've gotten a great couple of players, such as Daly Cherry Evans. But for the Dragons, though, they have been quite 50-50. So 50 means yes, really good team, but 50 means no, really bad team, really terrible, struggling a little bit. But I do have to say that this game's going to be a real turnout point for this one. But it's how the way you want to play your football, pretty much, right? But the last time Dragons played, it was really outstanding, but sometimes they didn't play as really good football as they usually do. So I'm going to go with the Manly Seagulls by 14 points. I reckon that this game will be a really turnout point for this game. But for the Manly Seagulls, it's going to be really hard for this match. And since Tom Trbojevic is out for a long time due to, I think, a hamstring or an ankle injury, I do think it's going to be a real struggle game for this one. But I do see Manly Seagulls getting the job done up against the Dragons. But it's how the way you want to amp up points a little bit. But I just don't think that the Dragons are going to be winning this match. But I do see this game going to be a real 50-50 for this match. 50 saying, yes, Dragons are going to win. 50 saying, yeah, Manly Seagulls are going to win. But saying for that, I just think the Manly Seagulls are going to win this match by 14 points. This game's going to be a real fired-up match and a real tied-up game. But I'm going to go with them by 14 points anyway. Thanks guys for watching my video, guys. Stay tuned for more. I will be doing a couple of videos coming to you guys soon. Also, I'll be doing more videos coming to you guys soon, so stay tuned for more. Plus, leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and for this video. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Till then, take care, guys. Stay safe and have a good one. Plus, let's get up to 200 subscribers. We're seeing on 161 already. But that's the nearly turn-up point anyway. So, take care, guys. And have a good one.
Yeah, you too.